everybody, welcome to Book Babble, where our teen services team here at the Fountaindale Library tells you about some of the books we've been reading recently. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm going to talk to you about Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. So this one is a standalone fantasy novel. It's actually based on the fairy tale The Goose Girl by Brothers Grimm. If you've read The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale, you'd also be kind of familiar with the concept. However, instead of following the wronged princess, we're going to be following the wicked maid. So for those of you who don't know the story of The Goose Girl, that's totally fine. You do not need to know it to absolutely enjoy this book. So it follows Vanya, who is a maid, a thief, and the goddaughter of Death and Fortune. You can see Death and Fortune right here at the cover. The cover art is absolutely beautiful for this one, and there's art throughout that I'll show you a little bit too. So Vanya, in order to escape a debt that she has to her godmothers, decides to steal Princess Giselle's identity using an enchanted set of pearls and use her identity to steal enough money and jewels from the rich and noble ladies in Giselle's circle to flee the country. However, things go a little bit awry when she ends up stealing a piece of jewelry that was given to one of the families as a token of protection by the goddess of the local wood, Icewald. And you can see Icewald up here. And so Icewald curses her to give back everything she has stolen or make up for everything she has stolen. Otherwise, she'll be cursed to slowly turn into jewels. And this, of course, is more difficult than just giving back some gold and riches because she stole Giselle's entire life. Not only that, but she also has to contend with Giselle's wicked, evil fiance and a junior detective who is on the case of the Pfennigeist, which is her thief name, the Phantom Thief. It has some absolutely wonderful characters. My favorite is actually the goddess Icewald's shape-shifting daughter, Ragna. It has a lot of Germanic influence, so not only does it draw from the Brothers Grimm tale, but it also uses a lot of sort of Germanic imagery and language, as you can probably tell by Pfennigeist. And there is some gorgeous illustrations throughout. One of the things that I really like that Margaret Owen does with this book is she starts off right in the thick of it. Vanya's already stolen Giselle's identity and is already the Pfennigeist and has been doing it for a while. However, you get to see their motivations, specifically Vanya's, but also some of the other wonderful characters you'll be introduced to slowly. And they tell the flashbacks of what happened before Vanya stole Giselle's identity as little tales, little sort of fairy tales. Each of them has some of these absolutely gorgeous illustrations you see inside the book as well as on the cover. And I just really, really love the devices and the way she uses that. It is a standalone, so there are not any sequels at this time. It's a very well-contained story, and it's definitely one I'll come back to and read again. You can check out the physical copy here in the library, or you can check out the ebook through our Libby app or our Access 360 app, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Hi everybody, I'm Amber. Welcome to another Book Babble. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Diviners by Libba Bray. We have this here obviously in book cover here on our shelves. It also comes in any format that you like pretty much. We have it in ebook, audiobook, book on CD, so you can get it however which way you prefer to read your books. So as you can tell, this book is chunky. It's a lengthy one, I'm not gonna lie, but it's an excellent series. There's 4 books in total. It came out in 2012. It's like a historical fiction, fantasy, horror type of series. So it's set in New York in 1920s. The main character is someone named Evie O'Neill. Let me tell you, I hated Evie in the beginning, truly. I can't, there's no getting around it. I really did. I didn't like her. I thought she was whiny. I thought she was very needy and spoiled. But in a weird way, she's sort of that perfect character that you kind of get to grow with. So she starts off as this very, spoiled, kind of like dark, just, messed up person that needs a lot of help and guidance. So, like I said, it's set in 1920s New York. So Evie can read people. She's like clairvoyant, clairaudient, something like that. And so when she touches people, with her bare hands, she gets a sense of who they are. And when she touches objects, she can get the same thing. She gets a sense of like what that object is about, who it belonged to. Pretty much she learns information. So she upsets the wrong people. This is like she's wealthy, she's white, she's from like a high society type of family, and she unfortunately makes angry some certain people in higher up circles. So her parents are very upset with her. They completely cut her off, and this upsets her because Evie is a flapper, so she's very much like a modern flapper girl. She loves her parties. She loves going where she wants, doing what she wants. So this upsets her a lot. And so they send her to live with her uncle in New York and to work for him. And he runs this like shop. It's like an oddity shop and museum. And he just keeps different like books and artifacts and things like that, and it's everything from like like jackalope things and odds and ends and things like that. It's kind of like a combination of a tourist attraction and actual like scholars and things like that go there. But so she goes to live with him, and before she knows it, she gets caught up in this crazy like murder thing. So one of Evie's other passions is she wants to be sort of like a reporter type. She both wants to be sort of like a celebrity reporter detective type of person. So she entangles her, she completely like throws herself into trying to solve this murder mystery type of thing. And along the way, she meets like this complete like cast of characters, and the book is set up in a way that this is why it's also so long. It's broken down by different narrators. So each character, almost every single chapter is told by a different narrator. Evie is the main person, but you also meet characters like Jericho, who is full of secrets, very quiet, very studious. He works for Evie's uncle at the shop and also lives there. You also meet Sam, who is a rakish, like Russian pickpocket who, enjoys flirting and messing with Evie, but also likes to help her, and they kind of, go on adventures together. Mabel is Evie's like super shy, like rule-abiding best friend, who's kind of like, the voice of reason, essentially. Memphis is like, he's black, he's like super charming, like he's described as like incredibly handsome, poet and writer who like takes care of his little brother. And Theta, these are all the characters from the first book, by the way. You get introduced to on a little bit more in the other books as well. So it is quite a large cast of characters. So Theta is a actress and a dancer who's running from like a really horrible past. So all of the characters, it's not really like a spoiler because you learn it right off the bat. It's not so much, but all of the characters have quirks, talents, and some type of like supernatural power. So like I said, Evie's is the first one you get introduced to, and she's like a clairvoyant type of person. Everyone else is, I won't tell you, you can figure it out along the way, but it's, so that's why I say it's a very interesting cast of characters. It is set in, a historical setting. It's 1920s New York. And so not only do you sort of get this interesting backdrop, but it gets told from so many different points of view. So you get to see New York, from that past perspective. And you get to see like the author, Libba Bray, talks about like, the KKK back then. And it talks about like, xenophobia and how people living in New York were so just terrified of, like the Chinese immigrants, the Irish immigrants, and everybody coming over, and so you get this look of early America and how all of this racism, was just going on even back then. And so it has this sort of, you have this really dark, gruesome murder mystery stuff going on, and it has like a horror element, and then you also have this sort of dark history element going on. So it's very much like a horror parallel all around. But like I said, it's a really good series. If you don't like Evie like I did in the beginning, give her a chance. Like, there's other characters you can absolutely fall in love with. And she does get better as time goes on. She, like I said, she grows. You grow with her. So yeah, so there's murder, there's mystery, there's horror, and historical fiction. So if you're into all of that, I definitely recommend that you pick up The Diviners and you check out the Diviners series by Libba Bray.
Hi everyone, Randy here. Today I'm going to be talking about Kind of a Big Deal by Shannon Hale. This is a contemporary fantasy that came out last year, so let me tell you a little bit about the book. So in Kind of a Big Deal, Josie Pye is our main character, and like the title suggests, she was kind of a big deal. At least that's what she keeps telling herself. She was really big into musical theater with a superstar voice, and she and others, particularly her drama teacher, thought she was destined to be a big star on Broadway. So she decided to drop out of high school and she headed to New York for her big break, except she failed miserably. So now she's living in Montana and she's a nanny for an adorable child named Mia. And she's trying to figure out what to do with her life while everything else is falling apart at the same time. So Josie's one escape is reading, and I mean that literally. So lately, whenever she starts reading a book, she actually ends up inside the book as one of the characters. It's both scary and awesome at the same time, especially if you love books like I do. But as she dives into each book, it becomes harder and harder for her to leave the fantasy world behind. So Josie will have to decide whether or not she wants to live within the pages of a book or grow up and enter a new chapter of her life in the real world. So this was a fun one, particularly because I love reading. Obviously, I'm a librarian, so big into books. Surprise, surprise. So I picked this up because of the premise, because of the fact that the main character goes into these different books. And that would be so awesome to me, to be able to go inside of books and live in books. But in Josie's case, there is definitely a dark side. This was really funny, very tongue-in-cheek. I listened to it and I laughed out loud at several points in the book. The author tends to poke fun at some YA trends. There's kind of a ridiculous dystopian story that was very amusing, and then at another point in this sort of romance storyline, she ends up turning this whole kidnapping scene into a musical that involves both the kidnappees and the kidnappers. So that part was really fun for me. The other part of it that I loved was the musical theater stuff. Josie, like I said, is big into musical theater, and this sort of plays into a lot of the stories that she goes into, even though they're not musical stories at all. So that was a part that I really enjoyed as well. So if you're interested in checking out Kind of a Big Deal, we do have the book available at our library in print, obviously. We also have it on a couple of our e-resources as an ebook. It's available on Cloud Library, Libby, and Access 360. You can also listen to it as an e-audiobook on Hoopla and Libby. Interested in more recommendations? Stop by the Vortex on the second floor. Our teen services team will be happy to recommend some books that they have enjoyed reading. You can also visit our website at fountaindale.org/teenreads to view book lists curated just for you. We'll see you next time.